Hello everyone, how you doing? Philip here for another update on Vainglory. It's update 4.9 and there are some hero and item balance changes that happened. There's also the news that SEMC sold Vainglory to Rogue. Apparently they're very dedicated to upgrading Vainglory or resurrecting it a little bit, so that's pretty good news for people who still are playing, and we hope to see the playership increase and all that stuff. They were asking on Twitter for some comments and feedback on like what would you like to see updated or fixed on Vainglory. So if you have any ideas, please go to Twitter and spam them about that, and hopefully they'll pay attention and, for example, fix the chat on Europe server that's just not working and restore the API and stuff like that. Anyways, balance changes for 4.9. We have some buffs. First on Anka, which is a bit weird, but I guess they wanted to put Anka on the same level as the other assassins, so they wanted to increase her a little bit. The Shimmer Blade, the range became bigger. The Dancer Blades, the damage also got increased, mostly on the late game. So just a small buff, not very big, but it will give her a little bit more of quality of life, especially on the early game. I was thinking in the early game in terms of the range of the Shimmer Blade, but I don't know. I don't think it really will change that much on the early game, but on the late game she will definitely be doing more damage with the Dancer Blade. So looking forward to see people playing a little bit more of Anka. Catherine finally got a nerf. She's been banned a lot and priority picked a lot. Considered by many one of the main captains out there. I still prefer Arden or Grace or Finn, but or Churnwalker even, but a lot of people still prefer Catherine. Mostly because she was broken, and they nerfed her quite significantly in the Stormguard. The cooldown increased quite a bit. Will this make her completely unviable? I don't know, but she will definitely not be as prioritized as she's currently being right now. Her beat does a lot of work, and with such a larger cooldown, I think we will see a little bit less of Catherine. Another hero that got nerfed for the third time in a row and still seems to be a bit broken is Ishtar. I think this will finally be the time where she was nerfed enough that she's like leveled up with the other heroes like Magnus and Celeste and stuff like that. Her stats decreased. She has less shield, pretty much. That's it. Which was her main selling point when she finally got like all the blades up, and she would just keep hitting you like hell. She would have a enormous shield, and if you have someone like Lorelei backing her up, it would just be impossible to shut her down before she kills you off. Her demonic decree perk also got slightly lowered from 35 to 30%. The blade whirl cooldown was increased. So I think this was actually too much nerf to Ishtar. Now she will be. She went from S level to like B level with these nerfs. So I think it was a little bit too much. But we'll see how people play her on this update and see if it works or not. Jewel also got a nerf. Her weapon ratio decreased 30%. I'm a bit hit and miss with this change. I think it makes some change, but not that much. But because the main problem with Jewel right now was that she is very tanky. So if you're like one-on-one versus Jewel, it's very hard, especially if you're melee carry. It's very hard to do any significant damage to her because she's just so naturally talented, naturally tanked by her armor, by her native armor. I don't think this weapon ratio should have been decreased this much. I don't know how much it will affect it overall, but it feels like 30% is a lot. Because the main problem with Jewel is that people were playing her less because both her paths were a bit nerfed on the previous nerf, and now her weapon path is even nerfed, even bigger. So it will take like 3 items to get online with Jewel now, which will not be very nice. At least not in the early game. And on late game, she will be just too squishy, at least on 5 versus 5. If you jump into the middle of a team fight with Jewel on 5 versus 5, you just get completely annihilated because they have too much CC, they have too much damage. It's just impossible to. Your natural defense doesn't really matter much at the late game. It's more 1 versus 1 that she would use that perk, and now she's not even going to do much damage, so she will have to position herself a lot more wisely on those 5 versus 5, not jump into the melee, but like try to kite around and try to keep hitting people and find the closest target to hit, because she's usually slowed down from other people. Anyways, another hero that got a nerf was Miho. Miho also deserves her nerf. She was still very high priority picked. Her damage was decreased by quite a significant margin on the later part of the game. And our Tsukuyomi also got the cooldown increase, but just very slightly, so not that much. So the main problem is that the damage severely decreased. I think it's okay. Miho will still be viable. She was mostly very useful on the late game to do like use her ultimate and then jump in and do a lot of damage with that. And I think now she will have to be more careful. She can't dive like a whole team fight. She will have to pick her opponents wisely. So let's see how she works up. Another hero that is also an assassin that got reworked was Taka. His Mortal Strike power ratio increased slightly. His range on the X-Retsu also increased slightly. And the Bleed Crystal power ratio also increased slightly. So slightly buff to Taka. I think it's warranted because Miho and Anka were stronger than him in terms of assassins. Viola got completely reworked. Well, not completely, just slightly, but she's quite different to play now. Apparently, a lot of people were complaining that she wasn't very easy to play, or that it wasn't very intuitive, so she got completely reworked. I haven't played that much Viola, so I don't know how much this really changes her, but let's go through it anyways. Melodious Tune perk, her basic attacks now deal crystal damage and scale with crystal power. I think that's good because the main problem with her basic attack was that it wasn't really doing much. You usually had to use the B to do any actual damage, which was annoying because then you would have your C all fucked up because you couldn't tune it with the B at the same time. If you're a captain, of course. The damage is now 70 plus 5 per level. Whatever the hell that means. Crystal power ratio is 50%. Weapon power reduced to 0. So no weapon power whatsoever. Only crystal path now. For the basic attacks at least. Harmony. Her A, projectile speed and hitbox increased, barrier increased. It's good that the hitbox increased because it was really hard to hit your friends. Like your teammates are dodging your enemy and you try to hit your friends and they just move out of the way and you can't hit them, so it's really hard. At least I had that problem when I was playing her, so it's good that the hitbox increased. The barrier also increased, which was good. I think the barrier was very low. You felt like you always need to get a capacitor plate to actually have any decent barrier going on her. And the bonus health ratio also increased. I think this is good. She's going to be a lot more useful as a captain. The Discord B, projectile speed and hitbox also increased. Crystal power damage ratio decreased. Okay, I guess that compensates with basic attack perk. Power Ballad lowered cooldown, so now you can have more of them early on in the game. I think that's reasonable. Resistance C3 fixed a bug where the damage dealt was weapon. Fail. Now correctly deals crystal damage. Burst damage, crystal power decreased. Damage over time, crystal power ratio decreased. Lullaby, duration of sleep immunity increase. I don't know what sleep immunity is. I don't know. I don't know what this means. I know that Lullaby puts your opponents to sleep. They feel like dozy or deezy or whatever the word is, and then they go to sleep. And it takes quite a long time, actually. I sleep for quite a long. But you have that window of opportunity to have the Crucible on. So I'm not sure if this is the doze period that increases, or if it's the overall time that they fall asleep that increases. Or maybe it's like an immunity that Viola herself gets during that thing. Maybe that's it. It might be it. I don't know. Would have to play her again and recheck this. Vox got a buff. Why? Why would Vox get a buff? He's like number one mid carry right now on his CP build. Weapon Vox hasn't seen a lot of success in recent patches, so we're making his primary damage tool, Sonic Zoom, hit a bit harder. So they increased Weapon Vox. Okay, I'm okay with that. Most people play CP Vox nowadays. Additionally, his Resonance Bounce should now deal a respectable amount of damage even while going weapon, since it now will scale with level. Okay, I can get behind that. So Julia's Song perk, Resonance Bounce damage now scales with hero level. Sounds good. The problem is that it will probably also scale on the CP path. So now he will be a lot more deadly, I think. So I have to test this to see if it works. But if it also scales the CP damage, this is going to be like insane amount of damage. Because with the CP, the most damage you do is from the resonance bounces, pretty much. And the Sonic Zoom basic attack damage also increased from 50 and 70 to 75 and 100. Okay, this is a lot more basic attack damage. I guess this is very good for Weapon Vox. I'm just weary that it will also strongly affect the CP Vox. And if it does that, then CP Vox will be number one ban right now. Yates, more ults more often. I love that. I love playing Yates. I think he's very cool. And the main problem was usually that the cooldown on his ultimate would take way too long. It's very good that it got reduced, especially on the first level, which is when you want to use it. Like the first time it comes online, you want to dive from your lane to someone else's lane to help them real quick and then just recall home and go back to your lane. And if you have more opportunities to do so, and with 20-second cooldown reduction you will have, I think you can score quite a few snipes or dives, if you want to call that, and then help your teammates, which is a very good use of Yates' ultimate ability. At the end of the game, it doesn't really matter so much because you're not doing that much damage on team fights, at least not in 5 versus 5, in my humble opinion, of course. So I don't think it will matter as much, and it only lowers 10 seconds on late game, so it won't really affect that much the gameplay on the end. And that's it. That's all the changes that are going to happen on Vainglory 4.9. Let me know what you guys think on the comments below, if this will completely affect how you play your heroes or not, how this will affect the meta. And we'll have to play it out to see what happens. So see you next video. Bye bye everyone. Take care.